How many have you seen? Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 best movies of the year so far. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're taking a look at movies that received their US release in 2018, earning acclaim from critics and admiration from mainstream audiences alike. Number 10, Incredibles 2.
It's time to make some wrong things right.
Pixar finally delivered the follow-up audiences have been begging for. It might have taken 14 years to catch up with the Parr family, but Incredibles 2 picks up as if no time has passed amidst a showdown with the Underminer. This sets the stage for a story full of stylish action sequences and hilarious character moments, with Elastigirl literally getting wrapped up in a mystery.
And Elastigirl is our best play.
Better than me?
Of course, the film gives the entire Parr family time to shine, particularly little Jack-Jack, who's a riot whether battling a raccoon or bonding with Auntie Edna. With storyteller extraordinaire Brad Bird back in action, this sequel did not let us down by any stretch of the imagination.
Done properly, parenting is a heroic act. Done properly.
Number 9, First Reformed.
I've decided to keep a journal to set down all my thoughts and the simple events of my day.
Despite not having a single Oscar nomination to his name, writer-director Paul Schrader has established himself as one of the most uncompromising voices ever to grace the silver screen. First Reformed is perhaps his best outing of the 21st century, exploring timely themes regarding the environment, religion, and military veteran suicide.
Reverend Toller?
Yes, Mary.
You must come over. You must come over now.
While we've seen these issues touched upon before, a film as surreal and provocative as this only could have come from Schrader's perspective. First Reformed functions as a fascinating character study of Ethan Hawke's Reverend Toller, who's either a martyr doing God's work or an alcoholic eco-terrorist about to crack. However you interpret it, the film will stick with you long after the credits roll.
Well, somebody has to do something.
Number 8, Paddington 2.
If we're kind and polite, the world will be right.
With a 98% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, you wouldn't think anything would be able to top the original Paddington. Against all odds, though, this sequel managed to be even funnier and more charming than its predecessor, scoring an elusive 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. In a plot involving stolen pop-up books and prison breaks, Paddington 2 serves up a visually stunning, family-friendly romp that you'll want to eat up like a marmalade sandwich.
What is this?
It's a marmalade sandwich.
One could even argue that the film offers relevant commentary on immigration, as Paddington fights against persecution and tries to reconnect with his Aunt Lucy. Speaking of which, if the ending of this movie doesn't melt your heart, nothing will.
Need I say more?
Number 7, Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
I want to tell you something.
What would you like to know?
I like you.
If you grew up watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you will certainly have a strong connection to this documentary. Of course, even if the show wasn't a staple of your childhood, you might be surprised to learn just how influential Fred Rogers was. In addition to lessons on friendship and art, Rogers was not afraid to tackle topics like depression, persecution, and death.
I've always felt that I didn't need to put on a funny hat or jump through the hoop to have a relationship with a child.
In addition to younger audiences, Rogers' sincerity and reasoning could even resonate with adults, most notably during a U.S. Senate meeting regarding government funding for PBS. While the film doesn't shy away from Rogers' imperfections, it's ultimately a celebration of his life that reminds us that anyone can make a difference by simply being neighborly.
It's an invitation for somebody to be close to you.
Number 6, Annihilation.
These aren't decisions, they're impulses.
Following Ex Machina, writer-director Alex Garland keeps up the momentum with another instant sci-fi classic that's larger in scale, but equally thought-provoking and intense. Centered on a group of female scientists who venture into a mysterious disaster zone, Annihilation assembles an all-star cast that includes Natalie Portman, Gina Rodriguez, and Tessa Thompson. The real star of the movie, though, is its haunting environment, which is alluring and menacing all at once. Just as the setting has numerous different layers to it, the story is a monster movie and psychological thriller rolled into one. Even when treading on somewhat familiar territory, Annihilation stands out as a singular masterpiece that'll be talked about for years to come.
It's like they're stuck in a continuous mutation.
Number 5, Avengers: Infinity War.
Who are you?
We're the Avengers, man.
It's debatable what the absolute best MCU movie is, but Avengers Infinity War fulfilled its promise of being Marvel's biggest achievement to date. Josh Brolin did not disappoint with Thanos' long-awaited arrival either, delivering an intimidating and complex portrayal of a warlord whose power is only matched by his charisma.
When I'm done, half of humanity will still exist.
Along the way, the film successfully incorporates almost all of our favorite heroes without feeling bloated. Everybody works off one another to perfection here, reminding us just how attached we've become to these characters over the past decade.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, I'm using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.
If you had difficulty collecting yourself as the credits rolled on the shocking ending, you were probably grateful Ant-Man and the Wasp came along to lighten the mood.
You gave her wings and blasters.
Number 4, A Quiet Place. It's interesting to think how some of today's most ambitious horror movies are coming from artists primarily known for their comedic backgrounds. With Get Out, Jordan Peele went from Mad TV to modern Hitchcock. Similarly, A Quiet Place sees writer, director, and star John Krasinski shed his Jim Halpert persona to deliver a tense, creative, and emotional thriller. Working alongside his real-life wife Emily Blunt, Krasinski plays a father determined to keep his family safe during an alien invasion, where even the slightest sound can mean certain doom. The film is naturally light on dialogue, but heavy on atmosphere, drama, and terror, submerging the audience in a constant state of caution. It is definitely worth making noise over. Number 3, You Were Never Really Here.
You don't have to do that.
With echoes of Taxi Driver and Drive, You Were Never Really Here centers on a deeply disturbed man who says little, but speaks volumes through his actions alone. That's always been a strength of writer-director Lynn Ramsey, who relies on harrowing imagery and carefully crafted sound design to get her stories across.
Senator, if she's there, I'll get her.
Ramsey turns in a tightly plotted narrative about a hired gun sworn to rescue the abducted daughter of a senator. Matters turn out to be more complicated than they seem, however, as our suicidal protagonist is given a reason not to give up on life. Unsettling while also being unusually hopeful, this is a dreamlike experience carried by a stellar performance from Joaquin Phoenix.
Cleary said you were brutal. I can be.
Number 2, Black Panther.
I never freeze.
Infinity War may have been more epic in size, but Black Panther was the more personal MCU movie, arguably leaving a greater impact. Director Ryan Coogler ingeniously brings Wakanda out of the comics and onto the silver screen, creating a culture that feels surprisingly real. Likewise, the film flawlessly integrates identifiable themes that ring true in today's political and social climates.
I am Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Chaka!
At the center of everything is a rousing rivalry between our hero and villain, who would be so alike if it weren't for their contrasting methods and ideologies. Throw in a winning supporting cast, detailed production values, and inventive action, and you have a universal crowd pleaser that proves Marvel fatigue will not be setting in anytime soon. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
I don't think I can stomach any more of this garbage.
Exactly. Same here. Words out of my mouth.
We have no other option.
Oh my god, it's so bad. I hate game night.
Who's this? That's Apollo. Wow, that's amazing.
Number 1, Hereditary.
It's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. I know my mom would be very touched.
Earning comparisons to Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist, few modern films have chilled audiences to the core quite like Hereditary. Toni Collette gives an Oscar-caliber performance as a grieving mother who's either losing her mind or becoming surrounded by madness. Millie Shapiro is equally exceptional as a troubled 13-year-old girl who will make your heart race with a click of her tongue. Where so many horror films rely on jump scares, director Ari Aster demonstrates the power of slowly creeping up on the audience. That's not to say Hereditary isn't without graphic imagery, and while the film may not be for the faint of heart, it succeeds in getting under your skin and into your head.
I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.